Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of the Ebbenflow podcast. My name is Ben, and today we are talking about something that everyone experiences, but no one seems to want to talk about. And that is death. So death is a universal experience. It's a part of life, I guess. You can't have life without death. It's just part of the experience of being. And death has been conceptualized by so many different experience. It's something that no one knows what it is, but people try to put a story on what it is so that you can feel better about how you're doing now. And obviously, religion comes, the basis of religion is explaining what death is, what happens after death. And what happens after death is assuming that there is something before, that there is something to experience after. It's there's a hard separation between now and the moment you die. But if you think about it, if you really introspect and you think, okay, but was there a separation between before I was born and when I was born? And then you could even extract it further and think, but is there a separation between any moment ever? No. You could say that time separates the moments. You could say, okay, yesterday was separate from today. Was it though? If you define yesterday as the time you were awake before you went to sleep, and you're somehow conceptualizing the separation between being asleep and being awake, well then, yeah, it would make sense that there would be the experience of yesterday and the experience of today separated by the experience of sleep. But there was no gap in consciousness. There was no gap in space between when you put your head on the pillow and then when you drifted off into dreaming. And again, there is an assumed separation between being awake and being asleep. When you are asleep in this world, are you not awake in some other world? But it's not, it is maybe another world from this perspective, but it's still your awareness in your dream. You're still interacting with your own awareness. You're still alive. In your dream. And we don't want to think about it further. We don't want to think about dreaming. We don't want to think about it as separate. No, as sorry. I don't really prepare for this topic. I literally prepared nothing. I had just cleaned my apartment, sat down, pressed record, because I've been wanting to talk about death for a while. But I also like to not have any preparation for my episodes because, except for my research episode, but there's no preparation because I want you to the intention, if there is one, is to just express myself as I am currently. So that way it's the most raw I feel that I can be in terms of my thoughts and how I am processing this experience. But yeah, I think something that's important to talk about before you talk about death is talking about like what you are now and what's actually dying. So if you think that you are this thing, if you think that you're this idea of yourself, you know, I could say with ease, my name is Ben. I'm Asian. I come from two parents, and I grew up in this area, and I live here. You know, that's a lot of certainty. That looks and sounds like I'm very certain about what I am right now. So if I have that sense of certainty, then I can also say, which is very much rooted in the past, by the way, like these are all concepts that I've accumulated throughout my life, and I have the option to hold on to them as the truth of what I am. And if I choose to hold on to them as truth, then I can say, all right, I have this life expectancy of this many years, and then I'm going to die, and then I don't know what's going to happen next. That's a lot of certainty that I'm holding on to. You know, we could try reducing the amount of time that I am certain for. Let's go through that exercise. So, all right, yeah, I'm going to be alive for, I don't know, 60, maybe 60 more years. Let's just say, okay, I don't know what's going to happen after 60 years. Okay, let's just cut that down to, I don't know what's going to happen next week. And truly don't know what's going to happen in 7 days from now. Okay, most people could agree with me that they don't know what's going to happen next week. You could say that you'd have a good idea of what's going to happen next week. Like, all right, next week, I'm going to be still living in this apartment. I'm probably going to go to work next week. And I don't know. That's about it. Other than that, like every single detail of every moment that I'm going to go through, I don't know what that's going to look like. Right? You could probably agree with that. And then cut it down even further. Okay, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And you could say, I have a pretty good idea. I may even have a better idea of what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to work on some specific things at work tomorrow that I, didn't finish last week, and I'm just going to pick it up again. I don't really have like plans after. I could go to yoga. Could go on a walk. I'm probably going to go on some walks. So what I'm doing tomorrow, I could say with a little bit more confidence, but there's still that underlying, yeah, but that's not every detail of tomorrow that I'm going to experience is not what I'm thinking about right now. I only have ideas of what's going to happen. I can't experience tomorrow without actually being tomorrow. I don't really know where this conversation's going, but that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? Just to take a direction and see where it leads. And then you could say, cut it down even further. I don't know what's going to happen in 2 minutes, in a minute from now. Okay, I could have an even better idea of what's going to be here in 2 minutes, where I'm probably still going to be talking to the microphone and saying words as I'm saying right now. But I don't know what that's going to look like from this perspective now. Like, my thoughts about what's going to be in 2 minutes from now is not the reality of what's going to be 2 minutes from now. And I think since I started talking about the 2 minutes, it's probably been 2 minutes. So I couldn't have guessed what that was going to look like from back then, from 2 minutes ago. And then you cut it down even further, right? I don't know what's happening now. Okay. Right now, I could give you a really good description of what's happening. I'm sitting at my computer. I'm speaking into a microphone, my thoughts about whatever's happening. There's people outside. I live on a busy street. They're seem to be having a good time in the sun. It's a really sunny day right now. But you see how everything that I'm describing currently is like based on a concept that I have accumulated from the past. Like the fact that I'm speaking into a microphone. I once learned what a microphone was and agreed that that's just what it is. And now I can say that with ease, that I'm talking into a microphone. So that way my brain can focus on different things. It can focus on the next thing. But let's dive into it. What actually am I speaking into? You could dive into the parts of a microphone. It's it's my voice is moving these plates or sensors. I don't know the exact anatomy of a microphone, but it's moving it back and forth based on the air pressure that I'm moving the air between from my vocal cords through my mouth, through the air into the microphone, and it's moving these pads or some sensors that will convert the movement of a certain plate into digital information, and then it'll get encoded into the video through my recording software. But we can go even further, like, and say the things that make up the air, the quarks, the atoms that make up the air, the atoms that make up the electricity moving into the microphone and then through my computer processor, all of the electrons that are moving in through the electricity of my computer, it's all just happening. And I am experiencing this happening. So who am I? You could ask, what's actually going on? Is Ben speaking into the microphone, or is an awareness speaking into the microphone? I mean, I could say my name is Ben, but that was just something that was given to me. Like, the name was given to me by my parents, and a lot of people call me Ben because that is a concept, a name. You know, not everyone has to have a name. It would certainly make things inconvenient if everyone was just kind of, I don't know, you could say like you. Everyone, you could just point to someone and say you. But that would it would be not as efficient to just call everyone you. It makes sense that people have names, but that's not who they are. You know, you think about your iPhone, right? Your phone has a serial number. And a name, like iPhone 12. Sure, that's what you can describe this black rectangle, iPhone 12, but It's more than just its name. It's like reality. And how are you any different? You have a name, so you can participate in the concept and societal structures that the awareness behind them has built. But again, you're just reality. And the same goes for everyone else. We're all just reality with names. Which is like kind of trippy to think about. Everyone is experiencing this moment right now. And it's just continuously happening. And we are aware of this happening. And we can put as many stories on it as we want to feel better about the inherent uncertainty of reality. So, no one knows what's happening right now. And how does that relate to death? Okay. Everyone has this experience of right now. But ask yourself, do you ever remember not existing? All you've known is that you're here. Right? Everything else is like hearsay. Strip everything down, question everything, like, okay, is my name actually Ben? No. It's just, that's a concept that was layered on top of my experience. Is anything real? Again, real is a concept, right? But you went through a certain percentage of your life not knowing what real was. And then let's say you're like 10 years old and someone introduces you to the concept of real and has a definition. And you didn't know, you didn't have enough context to question it at the time. So you just took it at face value, like, okay, this is real. And then this is not real. And it gets so ingrained into us, the concept of real and not real, that we could say with ease, like, the United States is real. And Mordor is not real. Mordor is a fictional, not real place. But the United States is. But before you were introduced to the concept of real, everything was just your experience. You weren't separate from any experience that you had. And it's not any different. That idea of you holding on to it separates you from reality. But you're not. See, this is like the paradox of life, is you're not separate, but you have the ability to experience yourself as separate from everything else. Everything is one. You are everything. And you're God. Because the only thing that's real is God. And the only thing that is real is whatever here and now is. And that's God. Now, there's so many ideas of God and what that is. God is eternal. God is eternal. It's undefined. You cannot define God. Yahweh. But people have all these ideas, and I kind of already had an episode about Christianity and like monotheism. But in reality just had an experience and called it God because maybe they weren't ready to handle the fact that it was just their experience and they needed to put a story on it to feel better about the chaos of reality. So kind of to talk about more like what you are, you're the moment. You're not separate from the moment. Everything is just the moment. And the moment has never had a beginning. Right? If you try to go back, let's say like to the Big Bang, right? That there was a moment when the Big Bang happened. Again, also the Big Bang is a theory. The Big Bang theory. It's not the Big Bang, this is it. This is reality. Let's just, entertain this idea of the Big Bang. That there was like one thing, and then everything else came from that one thing, a singularity. But if there was a moment when that happened, was there not a moment before that happened? And in that moment before it happened, there was the potential for that to happen. So, could you say that the moment is just potential? And it's one moment expressing all of the potential that that moment could possibly be, which is the Big Bang. And that's eternity. So if you think, I'm just using what modern science has discovered so far, and you take the universe to the end of its life, or like the heat death of the universe, where there's just all the stars have exploded and there's just black holes. And then eventually like the black holes fizzle out, like after like an unimaginable amount of time. Let's say the last black hole fizzled out, and you could say that's the end of time, is when there's nothing left. But there's a moment where the last black hole fizzles out. And it's not disconnected from the moment before the Big Bang. So if there was nothing before the Big Bang, with the potential to be everything, and also a moment where there was nothing because everything that could possibly be has happened in this universe, then it's back to nothing. With the potential to be, is it possible for nothing to have the potential to be nothing? But that's eternity. You could say eternity is nothing with the potential to be nothing. But if it's forever, then that potential for nothing to be everything is always there. So this is interesting because I've actually never like expressed my thoughts out like this in this format. So this is literally like the first time I feel like I'm going through all of this. And yeah, I'm not sure how what I'm saying is going to be perceived, but it's coming out. And is anything that I'm saying making sense to me? I don't know. And I don't know if that's even a relevant question to ask, because if we as in the awareness of reality is just the potential for reality itself to express whatever it's expressing, and it has an eternity to do so, then there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to get. So anything that it expresses is it expressing for the sake of expression. And if you're like, if I were to judge what I've been saying for the past 25 minutes, like that doesn't really make sense to do so. You know, I could be like, I could doubt myself. I could be like, I don't know what I've been saying, and it probably doesn't make any sense, and this sucks, and this podcast episode is gonna suck, and no one's gonna resonate. Like that. That's an assumption. That is an assumption I'm making about what I'm expressing. And that assumption is coming from this idea of me, that I am something that can judge something else. But there is no me. There is just what's happening. And so I am eternity. I can't die. No, nothing can die. Okay, but you say like, okay, but what about there's a situation where someone literally dies. You go to their funeral, they get buried. And it kind of, I guess some part of saying that like nothing dies, that death isn't real, can sound like cold and callous. But just think about what's actually dying. It's one of the expressions of reality, one of an infinite amount of ways that potential can express itself. And we have the potential to feel everything. And investing in this idea of you comes with certain feelings. Because as soon as there's a you, there's everyone else. And when someone else passes away, and you are investing into this idea of yourself, you're going to feel things like a sadness and a sadness that your time with that person has ended, but also an appreciation for the time that you had with them. And yeah, I feel things when people die. It is sad because that's part of existence. Part of existence is feeling everything, including what it feels like to lose someone while you are invested in this idea of you. And why would you want to deny that feeling? So this kind of is like going into non-duality, where you're so locked into the perspective that everything is one, that you kind of, that nothing is real, everything is one, that you kind of lose empathy for other people. The paradox of reality allows you to empathize, to have the feeling of empathy. You need the perspective of the observer and the observed. The observer observing part of reality that we've conceptualized as death. And experiencing the sadness of loss and the empathy that you can express during those times is just part of the potential of everything. But it's interesting also the fear of death. So once we've conceptualized it, we somehow fear it. We somehow think that like living as long as you possibly can is like a noble goal. to achieve. And you can go down that route. You can biohack your way into living for 150 years. And I mean, we see it in even modern day society, just like people just wanting to hold on to their lives for so long for some reason. That like, what's your quality of life at that point when you're just like almost in like a vegetative state? This kind of gets into like euthanasia as well, like ending your own life with the assistance of someone else because you're just ready to let go of what this is. You're ready to let go of this variation of existence. And I'm all for it. Euthanasia. It's like, do you want to elongate your life as much as you can for the cost of like not being able to do something that you enjoy? Or once you see yourself kind of slipping down this hill and you're at a good spot, you're gonna get some closure with people and then just let go of whatever story and idea you've built up is throughout your life. And I think the beautiful part is that you have the potential to let go of your story at any point in your life. You don't have to wait until your heart stops beating. It's just a simple, like, it's like a little moment, like, oh, that's not me. You are not what you think you are. And if you want to prove that point, do something that makes you uncomfortable. Because why is it uncomfortable? Because your brain's trying to keep you into this box that you've created for yourself. Your brain's trying to keep you into this prison. It doesn't know it's a prison because it's comfortable. It's a comfortable prison. Like, I couldn't go up and talk to that girl. That's not me. I'd rather just keep to myself. She's really pretty and I would love to talk to her, but I'm scared because that is out of my comfort zone. And it's out of my comfort zone because I'm holding on to this story of what I am. And as soon as you break that, as soon as you go up and talk to that girl, you've broken your story. You've proven to yourself that you are not what you think you are. And you can do that over and over and over. That is a practice. That's something that I practiced once I recognized that, like, oh, I'm not what I think, like, ever. And I, you can go back to my Instagram. There's like videos of me rolling around in a public park, because that was just how I was expressing my awareness at the time that I could do things even if it felt uncomfortable. And I don't roll around in the park anymore. My journey has been quite interesting. I do other things now to just express whatever I'm expressing. Just the potential that I am. And that includes recording an episode about death. I mean, I've had some uncomfortability, just thinking about what I was going to say. But here I am 34 minutes later, and I feel like I could go on for a while because death is like, and reality is just a never ending process. And, you know, to think that death is the end of you is to buy into the assumption that you are separate from reality. And I've just questioned it enough to realize that I'm not, that I'm whatever I am. And I used to think that would mean something about me too, that like that made me special, you know, like look at me, I am aware that I am not what I think. How great is that? And that's a trap to fall into, and I've fallen into that trap a lot. I still fall into that trap. But it doesn't mean shit. Recognizing that you are not what you think you are doesn't mean shit about you. It just changes your experience. And your perspective on everything. And it's funny, like how many other fears too, like stem from the fear of death, like the fear of losing your job. And it all, like you wear, when you're at work, like you wear like the corporate mask where you're not really being yourself because it's a corporate environment. You know, you have that risk of losing your job. You could be afraid of that. Like, what if I lose my job? Then I stop making income. Then I can't pay rent or mortgage anymore. And then I lose my shelter. And then I'm on the streets. And then I feel all the shame and embarrassment that goes with that. And then if I don't find anything on the streets, I'm very uncertain and I'm going to die. And that's like the path, like the slippery path that you can go down. If you think about like being yourself at work in a corporate environment. But you just see that you can't die. You have an eternity to do whatever you want. That's pretty cool. That's a cool thing to see. And so do I fear death? No, because I know that death isn't real. And you could probably say, well, how can you say this with such conviction, Ben? How can you say this with such confidence? You could be wrong. You know, there could be an afterlife. Maybe. But in my experience, all there ever has been is life. And the moment, which I am. I don't know what it's like to not exist. All I've ever known is that I exist. And so how could I make assumptions about what it means to not exist when all I've known is existence? And the moment that I'm in is so magical. That's always available, all the magic. Just how sensitive am I to that magic? And how much am I buying into false certainty? Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop here. It's almost 40 minutes, so yeah, I hope you got something out of what I said. And yeah, that's it. Have a great one, and I'll see you next time.